In the first 3 months of the year, we sold over 462,000 vehicles around the world. That's a 31% increase over the previous year, and recovery in the UK is looking strong as we begin to welcome back customers into our showrooms. And those showrooms are going to look different, because for the first time, over half of the models we are launching this year will be fully electric or electrified. The new e-Tron GT Quattro and RS e-Tron GT take Audi's idea of luxury and performance into the electric era. And the latest to join this fast-growing lineup have a particularly important role to play. The new Q4 E-Tron and Q4 Sportback E-Tron extend the reach of our electrification program into the hugely popular compact SUV class, and will open up the benefits of zero-emission driving to a wider audience than ever before. The new fully electric SUVs are the first Audi models to be based on the Volkswagen Group's new Modular Electric Platform, or MAB, which, as the name suggests, is tailor-made to accommodate batteries and electric motors rather than combustion engines and drive shafts. Free of these constraints, the new Q4 E-Tron and Q4 Sportback E-Tron offer a level of interior and luggage space that's actually more comparable with the SUVs from the classes above. In the UK, the new electric SUVs are available in 4 specifications: Sport, S-Line, Edition 1 and Vorsprung. And when the range is fully up to speed, both models will be available with motor configurations powered by a battery with a net capacity of either 52 or 77 kilowatt hours. Depending on the version and trim, the larger battery has sufficient staying power for an impressive driving range of up to 316 miles. And it can harvest enough energy for a further 80 miles of driving in just 10 minutes at a 125 kilowatt public rapid charging point. But another area where the use of the MAB platform has allowed great advancements is with design.
The Q4 E-Tron is for us a very important car, so we wanted to give it a very strong character on the road. We wanted to take inspiration from our bigger cars, for example, the Q8, and bring that strength down to the A-segment car. It was a very difficult platform to get right, but it also offered a lot of possibilities. For example, the battery pack means that we can push the wheels to the outside of the car, giving a very square footprint, and short overhangs, tight cabin, made for a very interesting design. It's a very special car to me because it's the first car where I was the lead designer, and it really was a case of sketch to production. That the feeling that I captured in the first sketch made it to the production line. For the first time, we're going to offer the customer the chance to change the light signature. We have 4 options which the user can change from the MMI system. And this is a really interesting aspect for us designers because we now have a feedback what the user prefers as a light optic. On the rear, we have a light band running across the width of the car, which emphasizes the width, first of all. And it's also nice to bring technology from the higher class cars, for example, the A8 and the A7, down to the A segment and offer it to our customers because it's improving the optics overall. The new steering wheel from the Q4 E-Tron has a flat top and a flat bottom, which is emphasizing a linear feeling, which integrates really well with the architecture of the interior. It's a very important part of our car because every time you step inside the Audi, you will use a steering wheel. So we want to make this experience more advanced and feel better. We've taken a lot of care into the way we use the buttons, and the integration of these buttons in the new flat panel is a step forward for us. And we sign it off with our new flat rings in the center. The Q4 Sportback E-Tron is following the principle of form follows function. So we combine good design with sporting cabin and keeping headroominess and also improving aerodynamics, therefore increasing the range by 12 kilometers.
While it's undoubtedly a new departure technologically, the new Q4 E-Tron does maintain certain long-held Audi traditions, particularly where its various equipment lines are concerned. As elsewhere in the range, the S-Line versions feature an exclusive front and rear styling treatment, in this case including distinctive chrome highlights for the E-Tron-specific single-frame grille. They also take a step up from the Sport model in wheel size to a 20-inch design. Edition 1 specification shows the new SUVs in an even better light by taking the features of the S-Line and adding a black styling package and a full body paint finish available in a choice of 4 colours, plus the very desirable Matrix LED front and rear lighting enhancements. Fittingly, top-of-the-range Vorsprung models have an exclusive look that combines many of these features with stunning 21-inch matte titanium grey wheels. Once the new ranges are fully on stream in the UK, it'll be possible to combine all of these specification options with all motor configurations. They start with a single motor powered by the smaller of the two batteries and mounted on the rear axle. It develops 125 kilowatts in the entry-level Q4 35 E-Tron. The Q4 40 E-Tron switches to the high-capacity battery and to a punchier rear-mounted motor which generates 150 kilowatts. WLTP testing has confirmed that in sport form, the Q4 40 E-Tron delivers 316 miles of range. Top output and capability are in the Q4 50 E-Tron Quattro models. Here, the larger capacity battery is responsible for feeding a motor on each axle, and combined, these deliver a system output of up to 220 kilowatts on overboost. The joint effort by the motors on each axle also ensures, with the help of ingenious control electronics, that the Q4 50 E-Tron keeps the spirit of Quattro very much alive in the electric era, by offering major gains in traction and composure that have been hallmarks of our all-wheel drive system for over 40 years. The new Q4 35 E-Tron models, with the smaller 52 kilowatt-hour battery, can be fully recharged at home using an AC wall box in around 7.5 hours, while the 40 and 50 Quattro versions, with the larger 77 kilowatt unit, will need around 11.5. By downloading the free My Audi app, the driver can make sure that the cabin is at the perfect temperature ahead of departure using the Comfort Remote preconditioning system that all UK Q4 models feature as standard. An optional, highly efficient independent heat pump is also available for all models. It heats and cools the interior using residual heat from the electrical components and ambient air, so it minimises the loss in range caused by use of the climate control system. On long journeys, the driver can take advantage of the onboard e-tron route planner, which not only plots the fastest route to a destination, but also the one likely to need the fewest charging stops. It factors expected charging time and live traffic forecasts for the route into the overall travel time, and when stops are necessary, it prioritises the most powerful DC charging terminals using an online directory that's updated daily. It can also target stations that accept the ultra-convenient e-tron charging service card, which is valid at thousands of charging points across Europe and simply adds the charging cost to the user's monthly statement. Equally important, all Q4 E-Tron models go to great lengths to delay visits to those charging points. They conserve energy through coasting or energy recuperation wherever possible. Coasting mode is the default because it's the most efficient. But when the standard Audi Drive Select system is set to dynamic, or the driver moves the gear lever into B or brake setting, recuperation plays a more active role. Using the steering wheel shift paddles, which are standard features of Edition 1 and Vorsprung editions, and available for all others, the driver can choose from 3 different recuperation levels or let the car decide by selecting automatic recuperation through the MMI system. Efficiency is crucial, but of course, so is enjoyment. With super responsive performance, standard fit variable ratio progressive steering, and tightly controlled multi-link suspension, the Q4 E-Tron models feel poised and quick-witted on more challenging roads. That's especially true of the 50 Quattro versions, which can marshal the power of both their electric motors to not only sprint from 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 6.2 seconds, but also to distribute the torque as effectively as possible between the axles to maximize grip and composure. During everyday driving, the motor on the front axle in these versions is switched out to maximize efficiency. But when the driver asks for strong acceleration or encounters slippery road conditions, it's activated in just a few hundredths of a second. In most cases, even before the car begins to noticeably break traction. Thanks to the battery's design and their deep-seated mounting underneath the passenger compartment, weight distribution in the Q4 E-Tron models is impressively close to the ideal 50-50 front-to-rear ratio. And their centre of gravity is remarkably low, which also favours handling. S-Line and Edition 1 versions capitalise on this through their use of sports suspension, which features taut springs and damper settings and lowers the ride height by 15mm. Vorsprung models offer an even more dynamic setup, which also integrates electronically controlled dampers that are adjusted every 5 milliseconds to react to changes in the road surface. These are also available with all other trim levels as an optional extra. The suspension system with damper control is linked to the Audi Drive Select dynamic handling system, so the driver can determine how it reacts. Audi Drive Select also offers control over the progressive steering, the electric motors, and electric all-wheel drive system where that's fitted. It's accessible via the MMI touch display and offers the comfort, auto, efficiency, individual and dynamic modes that will already be familiar to many Audi drivers, plus an additional range mode. As the name suggests, this mode is designed to extract the maximum mileage from a charge, so it limits the maximum speed to either 55 miles per hour or 80 miles per hour, depending on the setting. However long or short the journey, the Q4 E-Tron models have the capacity and the kit to make every trip a pleasure. Their interiors offer a real sense of space that's borne out by their measurements, which stand comparison with a full-size SUV. All UK models house the central MMI touch monitor, which can also be voice controlled, and the Audi Virtual Cockpit. In Vospring versions, this is upgraded to the Audi Virtual Cockpit Plus and features an additional e-tron display layout. Vospring specification also brings one of the Q4 e-tron's key technological USPs on board as standard. The advanced augmented reality head-up display not only projects key information such as speed, traffic signs, and navigation symbols into the driver's field of vision, but also superimposes moving graphics onto the road ahead. These include an animated arrow that dynamically draws attention to the next action called for by the navigation, for example, by pointing out the next turn at a junction. This remarkable new display is also available for Sport, S-Line, and Edition 1 versions as part of the optional technology package, which includes Audi Virtual Cockpit Plus, Audi Phone Box wireless charging, and an additional 12-volt and USB interfaces. The new Q4 models are also notable for featuring a new generation of steering wheels, which are the first in the range to offer touch-sensitive control. Like a smartphone, they not only recognize touch inputs, but also swipe gestures, making it easier to scroll through a list, for example. Not surprisingly, for two technological spearheads of the Audi range, the Q4 E-Tron and Q4 Sportback E-Tron feature MMI Navigation Plus and Audi Connect Internet connectivity as standard across the board, as well as the Audi smartphone interface and a wealth of driver assistance systems, which are either standard or optional, depending on the version. Vospring models also include a high-tech premium sound system from new and exclusive Audi partner Sonos, which deliver 580 watts of exceptional three-dimensional surround sound via 10 loudspeakers. It's also available for all other versions as part of the optional comfort and sound pack. Last, but by no means least, the standard sports seats also stand out, not only because of their supportive contours and integrated headrests, but also because of their latest generation safety technology and their sustainability focus. In the event of a side impact, a new center airbag supports the more familiar side airbags, deploying from the left side of the driver's seat to prevent the driver and front passenger from colliding with one another. Depending on the trim, the seats can be upholstered in a combination of artificial leather and a microfiber material called Dynamica, which looks and feels like suede but comprises recycled polyester, or in a mix of artificial leather and pulse cloth that includes recycled plastic bottles. The use of recycled materials demonstrates Audi's commitment to minimizing environmental impact even before the first emission-free mile is covered. That commitment starts from the build of the Q4 E-Tron and Q4 Sportback E-Tron in Zwickau, Germany. The net carbon neutral production is achieved using methods such as power from renewable sources and batteries supplied by manufacturers who also use green energy exclusively. As our transformation gathers momentum, we're working to ensure that production at every Audi site be carbon neutral by 2025. We're also on course to offer a lineup by that year that will include no less than 30 electrified models, of which 20 will be fully electric. The new Q4 E-Tron and Q4 Sportback E-Tron are significant landmarks in our route to a more sustainable future.